Most beginners, they quit every project they start, and I did too, until I realized I did the same 5 mistakes over and over. In this video, I'll break down these 5 mistakes and how to fix them, so you can finally start finishing your games and actually releasing them. Now let me know if you can relate to this. You spent hours watching tutorials, you feel productive, like it felt like you were learning something, but when you open up your game engine, the only thing you can do is to spawn a square and move it around. Nothing from the tutorial sticks, and you feel hopeless. But you might not care that much, because, well sure, I have more tutorials to watch, so you just go back, watch tutorials, and that's the first mistake, watching too many tutorials. Because when we're watching tutorials, we don't train our critical thinking, which is essential for game development and programming in general. Because when we just watch tutorials, we don't learn the most important skill in game development, which is problem solving. We need to solve problems if we are actually going to finish our games, because there's going to be so many problems, either big or small, that we're going to encounter when making it. And when you watch the tutorials, you don't solve the problems. The guy on YouTube, they already solved the problem, they script the video and then I record it, and you just follow it step by step. There's no problems involved, and you don't learn the essential skill of problem solving. Watching tutorials, that's what we call passive learning. That's where you watch someone else try to teach you something. But research shows, and so many beginners also feel this, that passive learning in game development just doesn't work. You need active learning, you need to build things yourself to actually learn in game development. It's not enough to just watch these tutorials endlessly. It's not hard to see why we do these things. Like, tutorials, they feel productive, but in reality they aren't. It's like watching someone swim and then you try to swim yourself, and obviously you can't do it because you don't learn how to swim by just watching someone else swim. And you shouldn't think that you can swim by just watching someone either. It's the same for tutorials. When you're watching tutorials, you feel like you can swim, like you feel like you can build games. But when you go into the water, you try to make your first game, you can't do anything, because the only thing you did was watch someone else swim. You just watch someone else make games. So hopefully you get my point here, that passive learning, watching tutorials, that's a trap so many beginners fall into. And I don't want the same for you. I don't want you to fall into this trap. But if you are in this trap, then that's totally fine. At least now you know. And I want you to be conscious of this, so you don't spend years making the same mistake that I did. I spent literally years in this trap, and so many other beginners said they do too. Because watching tutorials, it feels productive, but in reality you don't learn by following steps that another person online does. That's not how it works. That's why in Smart Indie we teach active learning, which might feel harder, but it actually teaches you the skills that you need instead of just following someone else. You know, it's easy, you don't have to think, like your brain kind of likes it because it's not that hard. But when you try to do something yourself, you just feel stuck and you can't do anything. That kills motivation and doesn't make you a real game developer. So that's the first one. If you understand all these 5 ones, it's going to change your life, seriously, because you'll manage to do so much more things in game development, and you feel like you can actually finish the things that you want to. If you just know these 5 things, be conscious of them, and actually practice them, then you'll be able to get ideas, an idea for a game you want to make, and you're actually going to be able to make them into real games. The second one you can probably also relate to. So the first mistake was no active learning. But the second one, probably something that you can also relate to, and it also ties very closely to this topic of active learning, and that's having a realistic project size. So you can probably relate to getting excited about a huge project, but then you just crash when you realize you can't actually finish it. And as I said, this ties very closely to this topic of active learning. Because as I said before, watching these tutorials, it feels very productive, right? So we actually feel like we learned more than we actually do. But in reality, we haven't actually learned the things. So when we think we can do more than we actually can, like we don't have the skill set, but we think we do, then we get these big ideas and we actually trick ourselves into thinking that we can actually finish it. And that's the problem here. When you're just learning from tutorials, you think you can do bigger projects than you actually can. But in reality, if you are just stuck watching these tutorials, then what you should do instead you should try going back to level 1. Just try experimenting with some small stuff, just kill your ego first, because you think you can do more than you actually can. Kill your ego. Just overcome your ego, start at level 1, experiment with something that you can't do right now. Just try to do something in code or animation, whatever it might be, and then experiment with it, build something from that yourself. Don't watch any tutorials, don't use any external resources, just experiment and do the things you want to do. That's how we actually start learning. And then after that, you're going to build real projects where you know roughly about 80% of the things you're going to implement. So 80% should be things that you have done before. And if you just realize this, it's going to save you so many hours in game development, I promise you. Try to ignore your ego for one bit. Just start with experimenting. Don't start with big projects that you can't finish. If you just realize this, you're going to save so many hours, weeks, months, maybe even years like me. But hopefully you'll realize this right now and you won't continue making the same mistakes. Now the third one is a mistake I did a lot, and if you're a little more advanced, you might also relate to this, and that's using AI too much. Using AI, it can turn your project unmanageable very, very quickly. And that's because AI, it doesn't know your intentions with the project. It doesn't know the end result you want, and it's not really good at doing things in steps, like actually making a game from start to finish. Like sure, it can do one specific thing at a time, it can implement this, it can implement that, but it is going to implement it in a way that is actually expandable and changeable for your future self and in the direction that your project is heading? Probably no, because that's not how AI is. It can't think as a human, at least yet, and it can only do one step at a time. So you can tell it, make this movement system, implement this, implement that, but sure, you can implement it so it works, like the bare minimum, but it's not going to implement it in a way that you can expand on it in the future for your needs in that specific project. So that's why it quickly can turn unmanageable. AI just follows your prompts exactly, but beginners, they don't know how to prompt well. That's the thing. That's also why I'm working on a full AI guide inside of Smart Indie, where you learn how to use AI effectively and actually use it to skyrocket your progress instead of this tool that just destroys it. So if you want to have access to that when it releases, you can click the first link in the description. Now the fourth one here is something that actually saved my project. If I didn't have this, I'm 100% certain that I wouldn't finish. Like just this one thing alone. And that's having a set routine. Just having a set time you work every single day. Not more complicated than that. It made me work on days that I didn't even feel like it, I didn't want to. Like I was maybe implementing some hard feature or something that I really didn't enjoy, like UI. But then, since I had that routine, I woke up 5:30 every single day, I went to work on the game immediately, didn't do anything before. I just did it. Even though I didn't feel like it. Like I had good sessions even though I didn't feel like it. So, have a routine, it will save your project. Like in general, it also just forces you to be disciplined. And just makes the development so much easier opposed to having like just scattered work sessions. Like you just work when you feel like it. Having a set routine when you work on game dev is going to save you so much time and make your project finished much quicker. Now the fifth one, this is by far the most important one, so follow. It's effective planning from the very beginning. And you might have heard that before, but I'm going to break it down to you, like specifically why it's very important. Because right now you might start a project without really knowing the end result and what systems you need. But then in the end, it just becomes a big mess you can't manage. And to fix that, you need to plan your core systems from the very beginning. As I said a little before, that AI can't do, you need to design each system to be easily expandable and easily changeable, based on your needs for that project. That's why you need to know the end result, because you need to plan out the systems in a way that it actually becomes easily expandable and changeable for the things that you are going to expand and change. And this will seriously just save your project, literally. Because in the end, when everything just becomes a big spaghetti mess, you can't expand on anything, you can't change anything because all the systems are cluttered and dependent on each other. You just use effective planning from the start, you'll avoid that. And the development will not only just go faster, it will also become so much easier and funner to work on in general. So know the end result. Also track the different tasks and stages of the game. It can be a to-do list or a Trello board, and that will consistently make your project go forward and also build motivation, because when you have like a to-do list that you do, then you can kind of check them off and it gives you like a dopamine, and in that way it builds motivation but also discipline. So that was the list. So if you take game development seriously and actually want to become a real game developer, that finishes games, not just prototypes, then you can go check out the first link in the description and I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.